Let's go ahead and call our work session to order. As you can see in the attachments are all of our, I'd say new policies, but I'd say newly organized and rewritten in some cases and compacted into a nice, neat little package as compared to where it was at before. Right, so to kind of get you all caught up, right, the Policy and Governance Committee for 2+ years went through these to try and figure out how to best change our governance model and how we take these disparate pieces of policies that are located in a million different places and consolidate it under one framework. But we wanted to make sure that we got everything out to all of the directors to digest in a reasonable fashion, which is why we're not going to sit here tonight and read through page by page of the, I don't know, thousands of pages of policy there. But I just want to kind of give you some direction as to what you're going to see there and then how we want directors to proceed from tonight. So there's kind of the general framework, and anybody that's on the P&G committee or Matt or Kim, really, she does all the work, wants to jump in and tell me when I'm wrong, do that. But the policies are kind of based on a framework from IASB on a general policy, but then there are also, you're going to see policy number like 101.5, then you might have a 101.5R and a 101.5G. We have kind of some forms that we use in-house, right, for different things. And so the forms are in there as a kind of an attachment, and things that are very specific to our district are in there kind of in a separate line as well. So they're all covered. And what you'll see, there's 1 through 9, right, 100s, 200s, so on and so forth. And each one is a sort of a category of who or what that policy section is in charge of. And so what the ask is for all of you directors is when you're, have all of that free time that I know you all do, to, spend some time and go through those policies. I will tell you that we were pretty diligent and went through it kind of fine-tooth comb. I know that there were times when we had to send the work off to other folks. I know Chase and Brady got together on some of the employee type things to make sure that policy was matching, what we were actually doing in practice and things like that. And, so there's a student section, there's a board section. You should probably read that one, make sure you're doing what your board is supposed to be doing. But the plan, one of the policies that's in there, and I found the number the other day. It talks about it, as we update policies, that we need to bring it before 2 regular board meetings. So our plan is to actually bring the policies in total at the 2 regular board meetings in June, I believe is what we sort of discussed sort of outside our meeting. Prior to that, the committee will also be meeting the 3rd Tuesday of May. So between now and that 3rd Tuesday of May, if there are any real questions or concerns or changes that directors see need to be made anywhere in there, to try and let myself and the committee and Matt know ahead of that May 18th meeting, so we can bring it up again in our committee meeting and decide whether we need to make that change or how best to make that change prior to the final package coming again before the board in the 2 meetings in June. And so the idea would be we would finalize and adopt the policies by the end of June.
John,
I know that sounds
one thing.
Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, when you're talking about that communication flow, it might be easiest if we just ask people if they have a policy or question around a specific policy to flag Kim with that, and then Kim will be kind of our clearinghouse for which ones either need conversation or questions to get back to. Okay.
Perfect. That I actually thought about that earlier today, and then I went away from it. But one thing I wanted to help directors feel more confident in how quickly this feels like it's going, besides the fact that I feel like the committee has done a pretty good job of going through it. But we are also planning on setting a review period. If you directors that have been on a while recall, that's how it went in the past. There was a routine review time frame, which is actually pretty spaced out in the past. But because we have a nice 9-month school year and we have 9 series of policies, our goal as a P&G committee is to meet once a month during the school year, and starting, September month 1, we would review the 100 policies and bring any changes, recommendations to the board. And then October, we do the 200s, and we would finish up, all 9 series in May. And we would do that on an annual basis to try and keep them as current as possible. So if there are little things here and there that aren't quite right in them today, they will be addressed in a quick manner. But we do want to make sure that we're starting off on the right foot. So the ask is to do your best job of going through the policies between now and May 18th. And as Matt said, let Kim know of any changes.
Sean,
Is that
can I ask
clear?
a
Go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, can I ask a question? I know so many people did a ton of work on these, and I'm super appreciative. I mean, long working sessions. We used to joke about it, right? P&G, oh my gosh, it's hard. I wonder, for those of us who weren't involved in the detailed editing, if there are areas you could point us to where there was more change than others, just to kind of like this, the committee spent a ton of time on this one. This is where we landed. Some you may not have changed at all. And so I'm just curious, can you give us a little bit of a map of where to pay attention, most directly and critically where the stuff had a lot of conversation?
I would kind of look at Matt and Chase and Kim, where a lot of that stuff happens. I know one of the biggest things that we had, right, was that we had board policy, and we had superintendent directions, and we had the linkage, and we had all of these things. And when we got this framework, right, of IASB policies, a lot of it was stuff that we just had it in a million different places. But in some of the stuff that we had in a million different places contradicted each other, I think was our big problem, right? So it's hard to quantify. I know when we started the process, we had old versions and new versions next to each other, and it became kind of difficult to really tie that together, because it was like, I need this page and this page and this page and this page to equal this one over here. And so that's a hard thing. I know that, Brady and Chase, like I said, spend most of their time on the employee work, but we had, all the key folks on all the different places looking into it. I think Diane was there when we were looking at curriculum stuff, and I think Dwayne was there when there's a whole section on buildings and things. So I'm not sure I can actually answer that, Janet. I don't know, can somebody else answer it better than me?
I'd probably provide the same answer, it probably going to feel like a little bit of a non-answer what I say, but I think that's Sean hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think the big thing was really the formatting change, right? Is going from a set of these multiple different appendices or superintendent directions, admin guidelines, to really a more consistent framework that's more common that you'd see in districts. And so otherwise, every policy was touched in some sense. And so it's hard to say that one was, had more of a substantive overhaul than others. I do think there's some things we tried to bring into policy that would have been included in those other pieces before, but I can take another look through and talk to the team here too. And if we think there's something we'd like everybody's eyes on a little bit more specifically, we'll sure send that guidance out before the next P&G meeting.
Well, would it help to get to at least have a brief conversation about what's incorporated into these policies that get us away from the Carver model? Or is that did that actually happen? Do we not have the Carver model in our governance structure now? Because that, I've had people in the community ask me about that. So.
Yeah, well, we're still operating under the current procedure we have until these new policies would be officially adopted, Charlie. And so that's why you still have like us refer to superintendent directives and in some of those pieces. So once we adopt these new policies, theoretically that second meeting in June here, then we would officially be moved away from that. The Carver governance model is really a model with very few board policies, right? I mean, you kind of have the bare bones approach to that. And so that's why we talked about a lot more of these things moving into policy and being codified into the policy there so that you don't have all those ancillary pieces. And so my take on it as the district worked through that is there was probably some discomfort with having a bare bones, kind of approach to it. And so then all these other pieces were kind of created to go along with it and codify that stuff. So this makes it a cleaner approach, a more consistent and probably regular approach that what you would see in school board governance models in that way, shape, or form. So I hope that addresses the question a little bit.
Yeah. So as I understand, then if I get a question, are we going away from Carver model? I could say that in June, we're probably going to vote for these policies,
Yes.
and that'll move us away from it. Okay.
Yep.
I just appreciate the work everybody did. Sean, I wish I would have waited, but I got through 600 of these on Sunday. And I would point to folks. I think what I very much appreciate is the 400 series, is that we were able to take a lot of the stuff that was formerly in our negotiated agreement and now put that in board policy. I think that's a strong statement to our employees that we're with them and that we're going to commit to supporting them. And so there was a lot in there that I saw. But I mostly just want to highlight, I want to thank you guys for all this work, because you're right, before this was all over the place. It was really hard to see. I know, maybe some people are frustrated with the amount of time this takes, but I think from here on out, we've got a much smoother process. And, for any new board member who comes on, this is going to be a lot easier to understand and review. So thank you very much for all this work.
JP, I think that's one thing that, I'd want to just take a moment to also jump in and thank the team about. I would think just think about the layers of what we've been through in this last year with the COVID pandemic, the equity work we've kept focused to. And, we've switched our whole governance model in the district as well as we went through that and switched the policy change. And so sometimes, I think it's easy for us to move along and take some of those things for granted, but this is a high skilled group of people, on this call, including our board team, right, working through this, and the amount of time and energy that people are willing to commit to this district for continuous improvement, I think is just phenomenal. And so there's a lot we do here, in this operation that just continues to move forward and that people probably don't notice. And this is one of those things that isn't very flashy or isn't very catchy, but takes a tremendous lift while we're doing, other major substantive work in the district. So big kudos to everybody involved in that. Couldn't agree more.
All right. Is everybody kind of clear on, our next steps and how we're going to get this to the finish line? All right. If you do have any questions, about it, you can always reach out to the whole team. But yeah, if you do find some things that you would like to see reworded or have questions about the specific policy, send those to Kim and we will take those up in committee. If there is nothing else at this point in time, I would certainly entertain a motion to adjourn this work session.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, folks.
All right, good night, everyone.
Thank you.